Welcome back to another episode of the Small Business Pulse, Small Biz Pulse. We're on podcast form now, so if you search Small Biz Pulse, B-I-Z, on Apple iTunes, you should be able to find it there.
I
And
found it.
today we are welcoming Billy and Tom. Hello, how are you both?
Hello.
Hola.
I'm good.
Happy Sunday. I mean, whoop, can't tell people what day it is.
Happy birthday,
Great.
Billy.
Oh yeah, happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Big 3-6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Third of the
Never
way
looked
to
so old.
108. Yeah, still old.
You've written a joke book that's historically sound, and I've heard you reference, I think 99% of the facts of the jokes are relevant to the truth of history. Is that right?
Relevant to the truth. Yeah, it involves all real characters or figures from the past. The dates are accurate. It's in chronological order. For the sake of comedy, some of the things are sort of exaggerated. But the second half of the book is explanations, which perhaps if you don't get the reference of the joke, sort of goes into depth of why you should be laughing hysterically and what exactly is the historical nugget that you should be garnering from the joke.
So what made you want to write a book like this?
I think we always wanted to write a history-themed joke book, and we had the idea that there wasn't one that was factual, meaning that there are a lot of jokes that had Benjamin Franklin flying a kite and, George Washington cutting down a cherry tree, and there were jokes that had historical figures in it. But we wanted to do one that would actually be factual, where you could actually learn something from it. At first, we were just like world history. We were coming up with jokes about Alexander the Great and Vikings, and we would meet once a week and just sort of throw things at the wall and see what we came up with that week. And then weeks and weeks went on, we really narrowed it down to U.S. history. And then we narrowed it down even more to that, starting in 1492 and just going to pre-Civil War 1860.
Yeah. History is a long time.
Yeah.
So,
Tom, what was your role in writing this book?
basically what we would do is, like Billy said, we decided to, we were trying to write jokes, historical jokes, and we were meeting once a week, and we would go through decade by decade and have to come up with like 10 or 20 jokes per decade. And so we would each do our individual research and try to come up with either some historical nuggets or facts or, lost little pieces of history type deal, or make a joke out of one of those pieces of information or fun facts that we'd researched. And then we'd bring it together, go through all of our jokes, and some of them we'd be like, this is a great joke, that's definitely going in the book, and some of them we'd be like, we might need a little more work on that. And
that happened more often than not.
That's a fact.
Especially at the beginning.
Yeah. It's
Tom,
I'm sorry. What's that?
Finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I don't have any thoughts.
What's one of your favorite jokes in the book?
So this is one of my favorite jokes. July 30th, 1792, marriage counselor says, "Can you see why Martha is upset you gave away her silverware to your friend David Rittenhouse?" And George Washington says, "I keep trying to tell her it makes sense."
And that's sense,
The currency.
C-E-N-T-S.
Yeah, the currency.
Because go in the explanation.
Yeah,
That's
so
the beauty of the book. If you don't get it, then it's
just wait. If you thought that wasn't funny now, just wait until.
And also,
right.
Since a lot of it is puns, you got to visually see
the word.
the homophones and all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like, this is like a bunch of like really esoteric dad jokes. All right. So here's the explanation. David Rittenhouse was the first director of the U.S. Mint. And when they made the first dies and coins, George Washington reputedly gave some of his wife's silverware to Rittenhouse for the cause. That could have been a bad move. So George Washington and Martha Washington are at a marriage counselor's office, and the marriage counselor's like trying to get George Washington to understand that his wife's upset he gave away her silverware, and he's like, but it made sense. And now that's just a funny image, and then so it like, yeah, woo. That's,
you mentioned image there, and obviously that evokes like an internal image that you create in your mind. But there's also images on the pages. So Billy, can you tell us a little bit about the characters in the book?
So with the characters, we wanted to do two characters. One that loved being inside the book, that found all the jokes hilarious, that was just like overselling the jokes, and one that was completely the opposite. The turtle character, who's kind of like trapped inside the book, that doesn't enjoy his time in the book, is very sarcastic, very like, this is the worst thing ever. There's a joke where it's why was the first draft of the Declaration of Independence written on parchment paper? Because the rough draft was terrible. And then the turtle characters, yeah, the turtle characters like, was this book written on toilet paper? So he's just like hating being inside the book, just like. So it was nice to sort of have that play back and forth. So if like a reader is like, that was corny, then the turtle agrees with you.
Yeah,
but
you're
the
kind
whole
of
idea that even if it's corny, you're still gaining a little educational nugget on history.
The turtle's beating any comic critics to the punch, kind.
And actually, that's one of the cool things too is we did come up with like a full origin story of those two characters. Yeah. Like it was this elaborate, like multi-page. The kid was like comic in a classroom and with a bunch of other kids, and then they got transported into the book with the class turtle. And like the class turtle had been like trapped in this book forever, and like that's why he was a little bit of a curmudgeon. And
who's kind of your primary audience in this? Is it the kids? Is it teachers who work with the kids? Who are we looking at buying this book?
Yeah,
parents of the kids, obviously, but
that's
exactly.
It's kind of like all of that. It's an interesting like cross section that we were trying to figure out, where it's people that are interested in history, maybe, and people that like comedy. That'd be a good book for them, because it is like, it does kind of get down into the weeds, and like you're if you're trying to understand these jokes and reading the explanations, like it's going to be a little more than just reading a funny joke about, like Billy said, George Washington chopping a cherry tree. But at the same time, it's like these are like jokes that are PG and under. So it's like, is that is the market really people that are taking themselves super seriously and above the age of like 18 or 30?
As much as we narrowed down what this book is, and it might just be for history nerds, teachers, and people like that, it still can reach a wide audience, because if you enjoy corny dad jokes, you'll like this book. If you're a history fan and a nerd, you'll like this book.
Right.
For different reasons, maybe. And if you're a teacher just trying to get through social studies class and you're having trouble with this American history, even if it's specifically David Rittenhouse creating the original coins from George Washington's wife's Martha Washington silverware, just throwing this joke up on the board, having it up there is like what we call activating strategy in teaching, just to sort of grab the kids' attention rather than just like having them open the textbook, having them do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Sort of like creating a different resource that no matter whose hands it falls into, it's not going to be inappropriate, but that as long as you can read, you can get something out of this book.
If I was taking a U.S. history course in high school or middle school right now, like this is a type of book that I would pick up and read and learn from, and because it's kind of like a mnemonic device to a degree, some of these jokes, where it's like how you can remember what is going on with the Sugar Act, or what the Stamp Act was, or all those sorts of things that I had to make note cards for and memorize some way or another anyhow. So it's like, why wouldn't I read jokes?
Yeah, it definitely there's a stronger association for a lot of people there, where they're going to remember Rittenhouse from that joke rather than reading a section in a chapter on Rittenhouse, maybe,
Right.
if they even read it.
Right. Exactly.
So
That's a good point.
where can people buy this book?
Currently, it's only available on Amazon, which is awesome because everyone uses Amazon, it seems like, and it's in ebook and paperback form. So if you just either search "History as a Joke" or "U.S. History as a Joke" or my name, Billy Peden, or Tom's name, Tom Sherman,
And I'll link all this down below too.
roughly 25 pages of straight up jokes, followed by 25 plus pages of the explanations of the jokes, like we said. So if you think a joke's funny but don't quite get why all the characters are involved, we explain it to you. Actually, I was going to save this for the podcast because this is our first week of having it published, and I have the stats right here. So we've sold a total of 3 ebooks. Not a huge number, but like I said, I don't know if I did say this actually. I feel the book's going to be a lot more consumable to read as a paperback book because you can flip through the jokes and then flip back real quick to the explanation, vice versa, things like that. So far, we have sold 26 paperback.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So don't want to get into specifics, but that's so far we've made over $100 our first week. So I'm pretty
yeah.
No big
happy
deal
with that. Yeah, no
So-
big deal. I mean,
To all those listeners and viewers
our
out
haters.
there, if you purchase this book, please give a rating and a review on the
Yes,
Amazon
please.
page.
That helps out a ton. Even if you don't believe in what you're saying, just 5 stars, right?
So how are you marketing this? Obviously, you're on this podcast, and I think you each may have your own social medias. But how are you planning on marketing this?
Yeah, that's that's interesting. That's something that Billy has been asking me more of, like as as we've been getting it to publication, and we've done a little bit of research on general publication plans and marketing plans type stuff for books and other releases that's out there on the internet type stuff. But we haven't. I'll let Billy fill you in with some details because I've basically been like, look, we need to finish. Like, let's just like finish the editing and the formatting and get it out there and live before really. I'm like we've kind of know our demographic that we're targeting, so we kind of know who we're going to be reaching for, so we don't have to do like 100% market research right now to try to figure out who our product is going to best resonate with. But as far as like drafting the lists of podcasts we're going to start trying to go to, or Billy's done a great job on the Twitter, which is _is_a_joke, right? That's the
at the handle. The name is History as a Joke. So we know who we want to get. We have a great product. The goal is just to try to garner reviews and ratings on Amazon. Word of mouth is great, and then do our due diligence and just use social media to reach out to. Like I've already reached out and made some connections to history teachers, social studies teachers that aren't. I mean, it's obviously easy to do that on a local basis. We all have friends who are teachers and things like that, but that's not the point of being international, is just reach out to your friends all the time. Like we want to reach out to teachers all over the United States, or further. Everyone's got to learn U.S. history at some point, even internationally. So just making those connections, having a good product to present them. One thing I found interesting is with Twitter, like it was the Library of Congress's 220th anniversary yesterday. So all I do is just hashtag Library of Congress, at Library of Congress, and then put in our specific library joke about Ben Franklin creating the first library. But I won't spoil it for you guys. You have to read the book for the joke. But just, things like that. Just specifically, we have a joke for anything in U.S. history that's pretty pertinent between 1492 to 1860 right now. So just taking the joke, whether it's an image of the page that I crop, or just type in the joke again and just connecting it, hashtag, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, just from a couple of days of that, we've gotten good responses and been able to make some contact with teachers from other states in the U.S. that we'll be able to send like proofs out to and get their thoughts on it. Because to get big sales into a school would be a great goal.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even if it's 10, 20, 50 books. So there's still teachers, I know from experience, that pull extra supplemental stuff for social studies and science that just don't have it. So if our book can be a supplementary asset in the classroom, just because kids enjoy it because it's jokes, then I think we can really make, you know, really make some good connections with schools, principals, teachers, etc., districts, then the world, then the president. Everyone knows the president.
Yeah. I'm sure you can get huge sales in North Korea for American history books.
RIP.
That's a huge demographic we're going for.
Yeah.
Actually.
You mentioned that this book goes up until 1860, I believe you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is the next volume beyond that, or are we talking?
Our next volume would be 1860 to 1861. No, I'm just joking. In our grand scheme of doing way too much right off the bat, we actually wrote jokes up into the 2000s.
Yep.
And then when it came time to really like edit it, do the data crunch, we kind of figured out if we're leaning too much one way or the other. And it just got to the point like, let's just cut it off before the Civil War, get this quote unquote volume done. So, I mean, I feel for volume 2, we already have a great deal of jokes written.
That's kind of what's cool and about finally getting this joke book out there, the first one, because like basically throughout our whole brainstorm process of just writing the jokes, and you know, like we said, we did 10 jokes a decade at least, from 1770 to 2020. So like we had this huge volume of stuff. We'd been meeting every week and talking about, you know, how we're going to turn this into a book and who our target market is and stuff like that. So we've kind of been able to think about the longer term. We've got volume 2 going from the Civil War, and that ends, I think, like right before the World War II. And then the final volume would be from World War II up until modern day. Beyond that, we were saying, you know, we can even delve into like science is a joke, or, you know, math is a joke, or whatever the other subjects that, you know, if this is a product that actually, like, we do get it into schools and it does resonate with kids and it gets that word of mouth from parents that like, hey, you know, this is a product that's educational. It's not, you know, too lame. Yeah, thank you. I was searching for a word. But you know, it's not lame. It doesn't talk down to the kids. It's funny. It's educational. Like, I don't get it, so sometimes they have more knowledge than me, which kids always like. There's a potential to keep building onto this brand and releasing all sorts of different products and attachments. You know, like Billy was saying, like, you know, we could start getting into different paperwork and games, and it kind of, oddly enough, worked out in our favor that this happened to be published in the middle of the pandemic, because I think it's a great resource for homeschooling. And if you're trying to come up with different ways to get your kids to pay attention to their schoolwork, and it seems like they're on summer vacation for the next year and a half, like, you know, you might have to turn it into a bunch of puns and jokes. I don't know.
Exactly. Quarantine comedy.
Yeah.
So I know you've talked about Twitter. You're making the sales on Amazon. Are you able to get people's email addresses so you can communicate with them from here until the release of the next book? Maybe send a weekly email blast out of jokes that were like didn't make it into the first cut of this volume or edition.
The important part is just like pushing the book right now, because I think we have an awesome product. It's very unique, and letting them find us after that, or reach out to us, I mean. And then we go the extra mile, like, all right, if you're really this interested that you commented on Twitter, you did whatever, friend liked us on Facebook, you're sort of already in our crew. Like, we got a cult following, so we're good with that.
Yeah.
So my final, sorry, Tom, did you have a follow-up?
No, I mean, I'm just not sure what sort of data we are going to be able to get from Amazon, and like our first few sales we'll probably be able to pretty easily track back through our personal Twitter network, or if it's one of these early sales from our Twitter handle right now, or wherever else. Like for the first few weeks, we'll probably be able to just like mentally track that, but hopefully, I'm sure Amazon's got some sort of tracking system that we'll be able to get data from and kind of use that to extract exactly where the sales are coming from and target campaigns towards those specific sort of demographics a little bit. But right now, it's, I know my girlfriend's mom bought 3 copies. So like, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like it'd be good to have those email addresses, but like it's kind of those things that we probably don't need to collect like those email addresses, because our core support group that's interested in this sort of product is pretty easy to track back right now.
And as long as you're providing free content, whether it's worksheets, jokes we haven't used, memes, etc., like people keep interested. And then I think using as much free marketing as possible, which there's a lot available as long as you have content people want. I think the bad part, I think a lot of what we could do is just constantly badger people all the time and do like 10 posts a day on Twitter and stuff. But I think like same with the book, quality over quantity.
We're building starting a boulder rolling. You know what I mean? We need to build up a little momentum as much as we can. And, so just setting a schedule, keeping good content flowing. Momentum. Yeah. And just building it up. That's going to be the way to do it. That's how we get a grassroots sort of a movement on anything.
And the book's always going to be there. So if someone finds it in 6 months or 6 years,
right,
no matter what we've done from now and then, the book's always there. So
right. And then by then we'll have, all the other volumes out, so they can just buy that for a 3-pack, for even more money. It's great.
Once we buy our own printing press, then we'll just cut Amazon out of the game.
All right, guys. Well, that's all I had for you. Is there any last comments you want to leave to the listeners?
Laugh while you learn. If you're a parent or a teacher or a student or just a history fan, like Tom and I honestly were, we could have done a science book. We could have done a lot of educational joke books, but we both gravitate towards history, at least in like an amateur level. So that's why we made it. So it's important to make things that you'd want to consume as an artist. So this is something that both Tom and I would have bought on our own. So if you're out there and you're like us, you like to laugh, you like history, or you have kids that you're trying to make laugh and like history, this is the book for you. Please buy.
Yeah. I don't really have any final thoughts. I appreciate everybody for listening, and
thanks for doing this, Brian.
Checking out the history book. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll have to have you guys on in another couple months or so just to see how things are going.
Yeah, Volume 2 will be rolling by then.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your day, guys.
Appreciate it.
See ya.
Thank you.